All right, welcome everyone. This next lecture in the sequence of the Distinguished Innovator Lecture Series, today's guest is Chris Rittler, who's an executive at Tropos Networks. Now, Chris is also a colleague of mine. There was a time when I was chief technical officer of a startup company, and Chris was also on that management team. And that company was funded by Benchmark Capital. It's the same company that funded Palm, Handspring, eBay, a number of other well-known companies in the firm. And after that time, Chris changed companies and did a new startup company. And this new startup company is also funded by Benchmark. And I'm sure he'll tell you about the whole story of how this works. Given this, he has an extensive background in the data communications industry, including being an executive at Motorola Corporation, and then these two executive positions with two new startup companies. And so with that, and possibly with a guest speaker that's also coming in the door right now, I'll hand it over to Chris.
And this is Sri. Okay. Well, good evening. I apologize that I was late. Never be late for class, but we are, so there's a bad class joke. So my name's Chris Rittler. I'm the VP of Business Development at Tropos Networks, and this is Devabhaktuta Sri Krishna, who we just call Sri for obvious reasons. So Sri and I will quickly introduce ourselves, and then we'll take you through Tropos Networks. And we'll start with who Tropos is. Because I don't know. Does anybody know who Tropos is in this room? Probably not yet. Has anybody heard about Mountain View and a Wi-Fi network in Mountain View? Okay, try that. All right. Oh, that's pretty good. San Francisco, Philadelphia, British Telecom, Tropos Networks powers those systems. Okay, so we're the manufacturer who makes the wireless routers for those networks. Okay, so we'll tell you about. I'll start with who is Tropos, just so you know. Okay, we have a foundation. And then we'll rewind real quick and say where we started and then how we got here. And then we'll wrap it up with, what were the lessons we learned along the way. Okay? So I'll introduce myself quickly and I'll let Sri introduce himself quickly. You're going to have to speak into my microphone because we're sharing a mic. So I'll put my arm around him and he'll lean into my lapel here. We're really close. After over 4 years of being at this together. So real quickly, his background, electrical engineer, undergrad, master's degree in electrical engineering, Marquette University, University of Wisconsin, very, very far from here. But I'm a Midwestern guy, and then I went on to get an MBA at Northwestern University. That's how you become a VP of Biz Dev, if you want to know, is you got to do all that stuff. I joined Tropos after being a long-term Motorola guy, big company, started as a startup guy doing implantable electronics to restore vision. Went to Motorola because they paid me $35,000 a year to write software, which was an amazing amount of money at the time. And stayed there for 15 years doing this thing called cellular, which nobody knew what I was doing for the longest time, and now we all carry cell phones. So, I was one of the guys who was there before there was no cell phone. And when I left, everybody had them, including my kids. And I had kids, too, at that point in time. And then I was fortunate enough to work with Icklock at Cambia Networks for a year, which was my first back-to-startup experience, which was very different after being in a many thousand-person organization. And then I came out to the Valley to join what was called FHP Wireless. When I got there, we were about 10 or 12 people. So I got there very early in, and I was lucky enough to get to work with Sri and his partners in crime. Sri really was the technical founder of the company and has been doing this for a long time. So I'll let him briefly introduce himself. Here.
All right. Give me a break here. Yeah, I went to college at Caltech down in Pasadena, and was never really thinking of doing anything related to engineering at that time, and I was studying with my two partners in crime, so to say. They were also at Caltech, and they were studying physics. I was studying math. We all went to graduate school in the Boston area. I was at MIT, and they went to Harvard in the physics program. And somehow I got my master's degree out at MIT, and I got into industry working on optical mesh networks at Sycamore Networks. That was in 1999 when optical networks were, there's a lot of interest in that during the internet bubble, and so that was a really we got to learn a lot about IP networking and apply mesh techniques to solve networking problems, and which is there's a lot of parallel to what we did here at Tropos, and after that experience, that's when I worked with I started talking to my colleagues Chari and Cyrus, who were at the Harvard physics program. And they we started thinking about why isn't there broadband, because the internet was exploding at that point, and we started looking at, well, why isn't the internet available more broadly? Like, what's stopping? What are the physical constraints that are preventing the internet access from becoming more widespread? And as we started asking those questions, that's how we started Tropos. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about
Excellent. Now that you know who we are, I'll quickly let you know what Tropos is, and as I said, we'll rewind and tell you how we got started. But quickly, for those of you who haven't heard about us. So really, we're all about broadband wireless access for everybody, anywhere, anytime. I mean, that's really why we exist. How we do that is we've created, Shri has created with Cyrus and Chari, mesh networking protocols, which basically turn a wireless network into something that looks a lot more like the internet rather than a bunch of discrete links. So we leverage Wi-Fi as an access technology, so anybody with a laptop can hop on the network. The mesh network takes care of routing the packets throughout the network, and then we do a lot of other things that are required to make this into a full system solution, and we'll talk about the important pieces of that as we go into it. Quickly, why are we doing this? I'm an old cellular guy. Why'd we get on the Wi-Fi bandwagon? It's because it's happening like crazy. I speak often for the company, and I talk about price, performance, and pervasiveness. Wi-Fi has all those things, right? Price and performance are changing the way wireless networking is being done. Pervasiveness is every client is starting to have these in there. Just today, we had a board meeting, and at that board meeting, we had all the toys, the Sony Milo. I don't know if anybody's got to play with that yet. Cameras that have Wi-Fi in them. All of these devices have Wi-Fi in them. So what we're really doing for the first time in history is creating a network that is servicing clients that already exist. Because if you think, like the first time CDMA came out or GSM came out, wireless networking technologies, you built the network, then you put the clients on it. We put a network in, and the clients are there already. Mountain View, we've seen over 10,000 clients already on that network. Google did nothing to distribute those clients to that network. They put up a network, and the clients were there already. Very different paradigm for wireless networking. As our CEO likes to say, if you want to lead a parade, find one and get out ahead of it. And Wi-Fi is the parade that we're out ahead of. What we're doing is we're making it happen on the metro scale, citywide, rather than just in classrooms or in apartments or houses. All kinds of devices are happening, as I alluded to, Milos, Nikon cameras, TVs, PlayStation portables, handsets, phones, right? I carry a GSM Wi-Fi dual mode phone that can speak Wi-Fi. Today, I was looking at a Netgear phone that has Skype on it. Do any of you guys use Skype at all? Okay. Skype's really cool, right? Because you can instantly do instant messaging. You can, speak over it, use voice over it, but it also has presence instantly. What I thought was really cool about this phone was I put my Skype profile on it. All of my contacts came up on that phone within 30 seconds, and I could tell if they were online or not. The cell phone guys haven't figured out how to do that. Skype put it on a Netgear phone that probably costs about $50. That's very cool. I gotta turn off this thing, or it's gonna keep doing it. There, come.
But yeah, I think the other interesting trend in the space here is that access is being bundled with devices. So the Nikon Nikon digital cameras now come with Wi-Fi cards in them, and that they come with a year's subscription to the T-Mobile Wi-Fi service. And that's for probably one of the interesting, the data applications are now being bundled with
bundled. They're being bundled, right? That's what you want to say? Good. I knew he was going to be done soon. And if you look to my earlier point about networks and clients in search of networks, you can see the adoption from these curves of CDMA versus cable versus Wi-Fi. That Wi-Fi adoption is just taken off, all right? So what we did was Wi-Fi is everywhere. It's in the home, it's in the school, it's in the hotspot. What we really did was take a technology that was really focused on these local area networks, and we used our mesh technology to make it work over a large scale, okay? Really, fundamentally, the problem that mesh solves, instead of every AP having to have a broadband connection plugged into it, mesh says about 1 in 10 APs have a broadband connection, and then the radios actually route back to that broadband connection. So it's easy to describe, super hard to make work, even harder to make work when you're talking about 4,000 routers to cover the city of Philadelphia. Massive challenges to make that work with hundreds of thousands of subscribers hitting these networks. That's really what Sri and the team did over the years. But what's really exciting about this space is that what's different about this wireless technology than cellular or other wireless technologies before it is that applications just work over it, right? Because it's the first wireless technology that's truly IP. So any application that runs in an intranet works over this network, okay? And it's open standard radio. My radio is in my laptop. I can use it here in the US. I can use it when I go to Japan or the UK or whatever, all right? Very different than what these cell phone guys do, right? What they do is they try to massage content to fit the device and to fit the bandwidth. What Wi-Fi does is it just opens up that IP pipe and does it with a reasonable speed. And now your screen is your laptop or your Milo or your PSP, right? It's different experience than if it was your handheld, your cell phone. But all these different applications that are listed here are key to this. And I'll start to talk about business case. One thing that we found very early on was, boy, you better have a good business case for your customers. You know, your business case is important, but if your customers aren't making money, the chances of you making money are big fat zero, right? So we focused very much on how do we enable revenue streams, or how do we save cost for our customers? And enabling these applications in the different market segments was important to us. This chart's interesting. The diagram in the background is of a small city, St. Cloud, Florida, which is south of Disney World. The blue dots mean that you have greater than 5 megabits of throughput, okay? So it's kind of a coverage map, but it's a coverage map of throughput, all right, which is different than most wireless coverage maps. What's neat about this city, this is, you know, small town, Florida, they put it in network free. The city paid for it. The concept was that if people were not spending $45 a month on broadband, they would take those dollars and spend them in the local community, which would generate tax dollars, okay? Tax revenues. So they put this network in for free. Now, not all of our customers do free networks. Google does do free, and these guys did free. But look at the penetration rate. 77% of the homes use this network. Talk about disrupting broadband, okay? 77% of the people use the network. 77% of the people don't do anything common, right? Most people don't eat 3 square meals a day 77% of the time. They don't watch TV 77% of the same shows. So this is an amazing phenomenon. It shows that, you know, with Wi-Fi and with cost-effective technology, what you can enable. Now, we're key to it because we make it work as a system, and that's our value add. All right, so that was the tutorial on who is Tropos, right? That's what we do. We deliver routers, we call our products wireless routers, that people put up on street lamps, on rooftops, on whatever, to put a ubiquitous Wi-Fi cloud over a city so that people like you and me can use this for whatever we use broadband connectivity for. All right, so in a way, we're the arm merchants in this new wave of broadband wireless access. We just want to ship white boxes all over the world and cover everywhere, okay? So now, but how do we get there? We wanted to rewind and talk a bit about that. So we've got a couple snapshot slides, you know, when you're together for 4 years or whatever it's been, you end up doing lots of presentations to lots of boards because these guys pay the bills, right? So we grabbed a couple key slides because it'll show you interesting transition through our history. And I'll let Sri talk about, you know, where he started on, you know, how this whole thing got going in technology and early business.
Oh, sure, yeah, okay. Yeah, just say a little bit about the motivations for how we got started. I really didn't set out to start a company when we started thinking about this. When I was in college, Netscape first came out, and the whole World Wide Web revolution started, and went from text email to, you know, graphics and internet and information available. And so it was that was one of the major sort of eye-opening things for me. Is and then later on, you had, you know, the whole internet and internet commerce developed, and people started. The internet was changing the way people did things. But at a you know, sort of at a personal level, I got involved with a nonprofit called ASHA, which was trying to create education for children in India, in developing countries, and to raise money for them. And so as part of doing that work, I realized that I could actually send someone to school just by having access to the internet, sending email, putting reports on the web. And so to me, it became very powerful that having internet access is truly an enabler on a global scale. And so we asked, you know, that's when I started asking the question, well, why isn't the internet available everywhere? What's really stopping that from happening? You know, there's so much utility and value in it that it should be just a no-brainer. And that's when we started asking the question of how you can make this happen, and why hasn't it happened before? And so we went back and looked at the research in, well, first of all, if it was going to happen everywhere, it was going to be wireless. Just like cell phones were wireless, that was the only way to scale and access technology throughout the world. And then the question was, well, why isn't wireless data more available more everywhere? And started thinking about, well, you know, in order to make it cheap and accessible, you needed to have lots of base stations to provide high speeds to these low-power clients. And to do that, they needed to be low cost, and they needed to be. You couldn't necessarily send a wire to provide the internet connectivity to every one of these base stations. And so that led to the conclusion, well, you had to have a mesh to connect these base stations up in order to provide access. And so we said, well, why hasn't anybody built a mesh to do wireless data? And it turned out that people had done this. This was actually done in the 1970s by military for the military. To provide ad hoc connectivity to troops on a battlefield. Vince Cerf and Bob Kahn were working on this in the Bay Area here, and Vince Cerf, what they did is they eventually invented TCP/IP, which they're more famous for, but and so there is a sort of a military heritage to this wireless mesh technology. And then but the problem was that it wasn't designed to scale to large scale networks. So it doesn't. The military technology was designed to connect troops instantly on a battlefield with whatever spectrum they wanted to use, and with a small number of troops, but not for large-scale access over an entire city. And that's what the problem we set out to solve. And we found that some of the assumptions in the field about whether that can be done or not were not correct. And so we found ways around the problems that were saying that these networks can't scale, and we designed algorithms that allowed us to scale these networks to the size of San Francisco or Philadelphia, and provide large-scale access to a large number of users. And that's what led us to say, okay, now we should really pursue this, and we started a company at that time called FHP to commercialize wireless mesh technology for broadband access. And then along the way, we found that we wanted to test our ideas and build prototypes and build real networks. And so we looked around for what's available radio technology that can allow us to do this. We evaluated several technologies and found that Wi-Fi, at that time it was called 802.11, was there, and even though each 802.11 card cost like $2,000 each, it was still cheaper and better and faster than everything else out there that we could get our hands on. So we decided to prototype our concepts and our algorithms on laptops with 802.11 devices connected to them. And then the interesting thing that started happening was, as we were building our technology and trying to raise capital and create a company, the cost of these Wi-Fi devices went from $2,000 to several $100s to $100, and then to the point where it became, the marginal cost of Wi-Fi became zero. And so that was another independent trend that sort of allowed us to take advantage of this opportunity, where combine wireless mesh with Wi-Fi and you have something very big. And that, so that's where we got the company funded by Benchmark Capital in 2002, early 2002. And that's where they were looking to, and that's, I guess Chris is going to talk about.
Tag team it there. Sure. So I met Sri in March of 2002, and there are a number of compelling things about his story. First of all, you know, it was leveraging Wi-Fi, which I thought had a great trend line, and I forgot that it was $2,000 back in those days, but that shows you how much it's changed in 4 years. But also just that they had, the neat thing I liked about these technologists was that they had a noble cause. I don't want to be corny, but they did have a noble cause. And then they researched history to see why this hadn't been done before. And then they challenged what some people were proposing were physical limits and tried to overcome physics, you know. And they really did it. And it just totally sold me on the company. When I joined then, you know, basically the team had done prototypes and was ready to get going on, you know, these little tin box access points, right? I mean, it was amazing. And so, you know, joined the company, and up here we had, you know, value propositions. These value propositions, by the way, behind me, enabled this company to raise 2 rounds of financing in the venture world, right? Now remember what I said, what we are, right? Everybody thinks it's cool that we're doing Philadelphia and things like this. But this is how you get going with much simpler things like this, right? Able to cover large, hard-to-wire areas. I love the older buildings. You know, this would have been one of our target buildings back in the day, remember? We actually had sales guys going out looking for buildings that were old, you know, so that we could sell equipment into old buildings, you know. It sounds silly now, but we thought it was the right idea back then. And better yet, our investors gave us money to do it. Flexible, accommodate changing RF conditions, temporary networks. Point to the bullet, temporary network for public safety. In 2002, when we looked at it, you know, we were like all over the map as indicated by this. And we early on came to the conclusion that we needed to focus on something. And how do we decide how to focus on things? We actually became kind of disciples of Geoffrey Moore. How many of you guys have read Crossing the Chasm, or at least had some professor put one slide up about crossing the chasm? No? It's that old now? There you go. And he'll use us as an example, you know, someday. Yeah, actually it is. I will tell you, if you want to start a company, read that book. I mean it. You know, I was saying to Sri on the way up here in the car, when I left Motorola, I thought I knew everything. You know, I found out very quickly I knew nothing. You know, but that Geoffrey Moore's book comes the closest to telling you what you need to know if you really want to have a successful technology business. But so if you don't know Crossing the Chasm, I'll tell you, they give 9 very good market strategies on how to focus your technology to go win that first market segment. That's my short synopsis on it. And that's the chasm crossing. Go win one, and then you can start replicating and duplicating.
The temptation is to have a big idea. You want to apply it to everything. And so you want to apply it into all kinds of applications, whether or not they're in different markets, retail, wholesale. I mean, police, fire. You know, you just want to do something so broad. But then but that doesn't allow you to succeed because you end up spreading yourself too thin, and you don't create a word-of-mouth marketing effect that's needed to become successful. And that's what Crossing the Chasm is all about.
Yeah, great summary. And if you look at these 3 phases behind us, we really live this. I mean, I just want to make this real for you. And then when you read the book, you can say, now I get it. You know, in the validation, we had opportunistic, intelligently focused. I'll tell you, we sold to casinos, we sold into old buildings, we sold into hospitals, and we sold into police stations, okay? As Sri said, you know, it was like you were all over the map, guys. Well, we were all over the map, but what we were being was opportunistic because we really didn't know where the hell we were going, quite frankly. We just wanted to get started somewhere, right? So we did that, but then you start to hone it down. And we honed it down pretty quickly to public safety and hard to wire, believe it or not. Temporary networks was in there too. And then we found out some of the other things that Moore really advocates are, you know, find a customer who has money, very important. Find somebody who has a pain point, right, that you can go fix. So what we found real quickly, much to my chagrin, was that police were great customers. You know, police are not, you know, a customer that you really think is a sexy customer to sell to. But we found that they met these objectives, right? So we decided, we went after it, and we bet the farm in late 2002 on police. We, in fact, let go all of our salespeople who were enterprise salespeople, and we went and hired the best public safety salespeople. And you know what those guys are like? They hang out with cops, right? I mean, they know how to talk cop talk. They drink beer or scotch at the bar with them, all that stuff. Swear to God, those are the guys we went and hired. We hired 3 of them, changed it, instantly changed our fortunes. We started generating revenue. It was a true, you know, crossing the chasm moment for us. And the good news was our technology, you know, which I'll let Sri refer to a little later, but our technology fit. It was easy to evolve to fit that market segment, all right? And that's public safety. You see, this is the type of thing, they even have pictures of guys with guns pointing right at you. So this was it. But you know what we did? You know, keep officers on the beat, right? More cops on the street. This was after September 11th. Everybody wanted to see uniforms on the street. So they were getting funds called Cops More grants, I'm not making that up, to put officers on the street. They were using those funds to buy our networks, okay? Instant on-scene access to critical information. They like pictures. They like video. Nobody has a wireless network that could provide pictures or video. It's as simple as that. We gave them the ability to look at pictures and video, all right, fundamentally. And then video surveillance, as I said, at the end. That became a real transition point for us. Now think about what I said, if you were listening at the beginning. Tropos is this group that's selling to service providers. Look at where we were. You know, why were we here? We had to get started somewhere. What we were doing, though, was we were really validating the technology, which was key, right? We had, if you look at police, the technology had to be secure, had to have mobility, had to have ubiquity, right? So all the things that service providers like Google want or Verizon wants, but it's with police. Now, the neat thing about police is no matter how many police officers they have, maybe in 10 square miles, you might have 30 squad cars. So if you're building a technology, make certain you get into a market where you can handle the load on the network too, right? So it was great. Only 35 users on these whole networks. It was fabulous. We have a great network that's 400 square miles in Oklahoma City, 500 users. It's 400 square miles, 500 users. So, you know, it actually enabled us to defer a lot of the challenging problems to later, you know, for the engineers to solve. Okay?
The other thing about the public safety market was it's a great word-of-mouth reference market, and that you know, when you make one of these cities successful, that police chief goes to the donut shop and talk, well, not the donut shop, but they go and talk to all the other police chiefs, and so that kind of network effect was very important to getting started in this and being successful in the market.
Now, a couple other things, you know, because I want to give Sri a chance to talk about, you know, how technology evolved. I got a few more things. We want to get to questions, so I'm going to speak really fast. But so, you know, we always had our eye on carriers because, you know, Verizon Wireless spends $4 billion a year in capital on their networks, right? I want a percentage of $4 billion a year. I do. That's why I'm in business. And here I am selling to these guys who have like a couple $100,000. But I hope you can see, because the technology kind of was a first step there, it was a natural progression. Now, we show in this evolution kind of our business, there's a lot on here, but if you just focus on the bubbles, we envision this day where we go from public safety to service provider. Think of service provider as a local guy, maybe an ISP or a wireless ISP, a small local service provider. And then carrier being very big people like British Telecom or Verizon. We envision transitioning through all of those days. Well, there's technology challenges as we go through that, but there's market challenges. One thing I'll give you an insight on that, I think people give us credit for being very visionary people. It turned out that our guys who were good at selling to police were also very good at selling to CIOs of cities. And right now, if you look at like San Francisco is going to be built by a service provider called Earthlink, okay? But the city is part of this deal. The way that we won San Francisco, the same guys who knew how to sell to police knew how to sell to the city. So to this day, one of our core competencies is we sell cities on the idea first. And then we bring service providers in and tell the service provider, here's a city who wants you to be their partner, okay? Things like this, are all important to making your business successful. We haven't talked recently in this presentation about technology. We've talked about bringing together some of these partners to make it successful. And it's one of those things where we got lucky, I'll tell you, to some extent, that public safety was a good market for us because it became the linchpin for all these other markets up here, okay? I'll let Sri talk a little bit about some of the technology changes as we go through this, okay?
So our first networks were indoors, and then we all along with Chris said we had the carriers in our mind. We also one of the things we always had in mind was scaling this network to the entire world, and to do that from a technological perspective. So we architected our algorithms to do that. We've simulated them and done as much as we could to ensure that they would work in large scale. But the first time we went outdoors was for a police network in San Mateo, where in downtown San Mateo, about a couple square miles, and that's where we learned about a whole bunch of things like lightning, and how lightning can break your network, and we learned about how wireless operates in a metro environment and how is it different from indoors, and so we took that learning, then we built other networks. One of the next networks we built was Cerritos in California, and that was a service provider network. It was our first service provider network where they covered the whole, that was I think about 5 square miles or so. And there we learned about network effects with the algorithms that we hadn't seen before. Then finally, after that, we got a call from a city called Chaska, Minnesota, which had been offering wireless services to their businesses, wireless broadband to their businesses using point-to-multipoint systems, WiMAX systems, as an amenity to attract businesses. And then the city council decided they wanted to provide a similar kind of broadband service except to all their residents. And so it was a much larger number of connections that they wanted to support. And so they looked around and then they found the Tropos solution and said, maybe this will work. And that's what, it's all the networks that led up to that. There was Milpitas and so on. But Chaska was really one of the turning points in this market where we built the network, dropped it in one summer, and and suddenly 2,000 users show up on the network. And this is in an environment where there's cable, where there's DSL, and there are broadband alternatives. They all cost $50 or $60 a month, and this is something that the city decided they wanted to offer at an affordable price at $15.95 a month to all their residents. And that's what I think influenced a lot of thinking in this space, that wireless broadband can offer an alternative to DSL and cable and be competitive as well. And so from there we went to, I think the next big proof point was Mountain View, where recently we've now supported a very high density of users with, on a free network. And so the theme in there is that the constantly proving the proof points, and it was really what let us justify the next stage and refine the technology to the point where it can be, and that's been key to making us successful with our next level of customers.
And if it appears that we're rushing, we are rushing because I know we started late and I know it's the end of your guys' day. We had more slides that we wanted to cover, but I will skip over them. And we wanted to leave you with Sri and Chris's top 6 key ingredients to success. All right? So let's see how we're going to do this. So first, I'll let you take this one.
Sure. I guess what we started out by questioning the constraints of the way of wireless and networking, and came up with what was an innovative solution to a very important problem, and that's turned out to make all the difference in us competing with larger companies like Cisco or and winning deals and doing things that no one thought was possible before. So I think and it was not an easy road, but it certainly is what makes the company successful even today. And then really, the culture of the company has also become one where we expect innovation, and we're doing a whole bunch of things that I'm just amazed to see how the kind of things that multiple people in the company are doing, to push the boundaries, and that's what I think makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah, these guys are innovative, crazy guys. I mean it. You got to keep innovating. Focus on a financially viable market segment. Remember I said we always had our eye on the carrier target. If we tried to sell to carriers, we'd be out of business today. Doesn't matter how great his technology is. If I tried to sell to carriers, we would be out of business today. We kind of sucked it up and we went and sold to the cops, because that was the way to make money at that time. I love law enforcement, for the record, since this is being recorded. But focus on a financially viable market segment, okay? Reference customers are golden. I will tell you, man, reference customers are everything. Go get your first customer and make them love you. Do whatever it takes to make them love you, because we have reference customers today who I take in senior executives from British Telecom, one of the biggest telcos in the world. I take them back to one of our first customers. Can you believe that? A 4-year-old customer in Milpitas, California, some CIO there, a guy's name's Bill Marion, greatest guy in the world. He now hosts British Telecom, and they hang on every word that Bill says, okay? These guys are golden. Your first customers, it's all about having those guys love you. Go get one, do whatever you have to take to get that customer to love you. Keep them happy for a long time. Here, yours.
And that was the point I was touching on earlier, which was that the technology is continually validated by customers, and every new at one point every new customer we learn something new, and then at some point you start encountering the challenge of serving a larger number of customers at the same time, and that's where learning from your customers and I guess technology validation and innovation go hand in hand, where you test out your ideas in the marketplace, and then you go and iterate on that, and that's what allows you to get to grow the business.
Yeah, I mean, most people would paint Tropos as a successful business today, but I'll tell you, this guy every day is looking at, what did I learn from this customer? What did I validate about my technology? What do I have to innovate tomorrow to be better? Every day he is doing that. You just can't stop doing that. We didn't cover these slides. So comprehensive ecosystem, don't like the word, but with you as a matchmaker. I alluded to it earlier. One thing that Tropos does great is we sell cities on the idea that this is the best thing, Mr. Mayor or Mrs. Mayor, for you. We sell a service provider. You can make money on this. We sell our partners, like Motorola is a big partner. We show them how they can make money on it. We show them all this, and then we bring them together. I mean, we are literally the matchmaker of this industry. None of these deals happen that easy. We have to make certain that we're bringing these parties together. They do tend to gather momentum once you do that. But don't just think you can go sell to one customer and be done with it. You've got to constantly be thinking about who all is in this supply chain and how can they all come together to make this successful business. And the last one's closely related. Feed the fish. I'd have to explain it via slide. But your profitability is proportional to your partner's profitability. Okay? One of the best ways to make your business successful is make other guys' business successful, right? So that's obvious. If I sell to Earthlink, I need to make certain that Earthlink makes money, right? If they're not making money, they don't buy more routers, okay? Might not be so obvious that Earthlink also buys from someone like Juniper. If I can make Juniper make more money, even though it doesn't make me any more money directly, it makes Juniper more excited about working with me, right? I also work with Motorola. I worry about how much money Motorola is going to make on this deal too. You've got to find everybody who can make money in this deal and make money for them. And it's an amazing thing. Some days you wake up and you're like, I'm working my butt off to make all these other guys rich. Well, the truth of the matter is the better off you make them, the better off they make you. So it comes right back to you. I could spend a whole hour talking about that one itself. So hopefully you can see quickly, what started with just, a noble cause, great innovative technology, right? A desire to figure out a new solution to this. That's still core to what we do. When I say what's Tropos' core competencies, great product, great innovation, but then all this stuff, the business side of what we do has really propelled us to the lead in the industry. Just kind of somewhat self-serving. We created the market. We really lead the market with over 80% market share right now, and we're fighting guys like Cisco, okay? And we plan on continuing to do this. We've been at it, he's been at it 6 years, I've been at it 4 years. The last thing I'll tell you is hang in there, because you know what? I think we got 4 more years of hard work ahead of us. I mean, this is not a day where you go out and you make money in 12 months. You got to hunker down, be tenacious, be innovative, and be a savvy business guy. I hope that you guys get to study Jeffrey Moore. I would tell you, listen to that for your business intuition. There's some really good stuff in there. We're living proof of it. We're way over time, but we wanted to open it to questions. Yeah.
Those are very good questions. So I guess to summarize, the first question is. Okay.
Yeah, he's good.
Oh yeah, I was about to repeat the question. Okay. So, yeah. So the first question was, how do you prevent bandwidth hogs from consuming the network resources and preventing others from accessing the network? That actually is a reality in our networks. Different service providers have different philosophies and policies on this. In some cases, the service providers don't want to apply. They allow that to happen, and the reason that the root of this is that there are applications like sort of machine-to-machine applications like which open up a zillion TCP connections and try to flood the network with take advantage of any network resources. And what we repeatedly find in our networks is that the top 3 users consume most of the bandwidth, unless you put in something called bandwidth management, or provide rate limits, or provide some kind of management of the resources. And so the solution then is to apply these rate limits and provide policies. You can go to any number of degrees in here. You can provide rate limits per user. You can provide rate limits per application. And a lot of this is determined by the policy of the ISP, but it certainly is an issue. Yeah, we have solutions that are integrated in the router itself. There are more, and those don't look at the kind of traffic that's passing through the network. There are other solutions that sit at the core of the network that inspect every packet and can selectively apply rate limits to eDonkey or Kazaa or something and be very specific about how they do bandwidth management. So different ISPs, we have all possibilities here. We have some ISPs that have no bandwidth management, some that use only the rate limiting that's traffic independent, some that use. And you had a second question. Security. Security is a big topic. In fact, in public safety, it was a very big topic. The security model is really dependent on the market segment. So in public safety, they wanted to have completely secure access to from their client device, their laptop, all the way back to the state database where they're accessing the photos of the criminals. And so that the way they solved that was using a VPN over the wireless network. So the wireless network is just another hop in the internet. In other cases, there's in the public access case, there's essentially every end user has to determine their own security policy. Are they going to get are they going to use a VPN to get on the network? Are they going to take advantage of some Wi-Fi security that's built into the routers? But generally, in public access networks, if you look at the Google network in Mountain View, it's an open network, and security is something that they provide as if they have a VPN service that you can use. But they also have you can also connect open to the and let people. So it's really the choice of the end user to solve that.
I've seen how the major telecom providers can sometimes get together and fight on a unified front in, for instance, net neutrality. Against that. How have they approached you when you implement your network in these cities kind of for free? Because it seems like they would band together against that.
Yeah, actually, so the question was, how have major telecom providers tried to shut us down effectively? I'm putting words in your mouth. Actually, if I was going to list a comprehensive list of milestones for Tropos, I'd actually say that one of the most significant milestones was when Verizon went into the state legislature in Pennsylvania and tried to shut down the Philadelphia project. Best marketing for our company, another good piece of good fortune. Yeah, our sales leads quadrupled, within the next month. I'm not making it up. All of a sudden, it became a cause, right? It was just not, a business anymore. So remember, we were always targeted. We were always looking for carriers as customers. And we kind of fell into this muni market. We sold to police, and then all of a sudden, the city said, I want to put up a free network. The truth of the matter is, most of these networks aren't free. People pay money to get on these networks, okay? And we had that vision, but everybody viewed us as the free guys, that we were creating this free world, which was fine by us, as long as people were spending money with us and doing whatever they wanted to for free. But then Verizon came in. They went into state legislature. They actually made it illegal for cities to put up networks, okay? Well, that just created a huge opportunity for some other service providers to come into the cities. Remember I said we had this great muni sales force? Well, all we did was we took those guys and had them go explain to service providers why the cities were great customers of the service providers. It kind of forced the cities to partner with the service providers, and it drug the service providers in, like Earthlink. Some of the smaller LECs got pulled into it. It turned out that lasted, I think it got through in Pennsylvania, and that was it. It was tried in 14 states. I think it got through in 1 or 2 in the end. And that was the end of it. So, and now they're kind of becoming customers. Actually, Verizon has 3 of our networks right now. They won't advertise that they do, but they do. You want to add to that?
Yeah, a little bit. There's this is a pretty big debate, the municipal wireless debate, and the Federal Trade Commission came out with a report on municipal wireless explaining the different sides of this debate, which is accessible online. It should be probably able to Google it or something, but the other thing that happened was in response to all the state lobbying and legislature activity where they were trying to shut down these networks, there was legislation at the federal level by senators to invalidate the state legislature, the state laws rather, that prevent cities from doing this and allow them the freedom to. So this is very well. This is described pretty well in that Federal Trade Commission report.
Yep. Great.